Hi, this is Jonathan J, and welcome to the Dealmakers YouTube channel. And you should be subscribing to this channel right now if you have any interest at all in buying a business. Lots of useful content every single week. Today, I want to introduce you to Ray Burke. Now, Ray was stuck in the business life of sitting behind a desk day in, day out, kind of frustrated, knew that he wanted more. And then it took him, after 2 years of kind of putting it off and not quite getting around to it, he bought his first business and it transformed his life. And over the last few months, Ray has gone from owning a business that was doing £500,000 a year in revenue to one that turns over £3.4 million a year in revenue through 3 strategic acquisitions. And in this video, he tells you how he did it, how attending my FastTrack program motivated him to take action, sharpened his skills, and allowed him to buy these businesses faster and easier and better. So enjoy the interview, and as a result, why don't you take action, jump on the FastTrack program with me, and let's buy a business. So would you like to tell everyone the business world that you're in and what your business looked like up until the beginning of this year?
Right, so hello everyone. My background has always been HGVs, engineering, trucks, plant hire, that kind of thing. I've done engineering, agricultural engineering in college. I went on from that and I had worked in different operational roles in the plant hire, development, sales, spectrum, and I'd worked with several different companies, coincidentally in Ireland and the UK, so I kind of got different experience on how different companies worked. I'd left one particular company I worked with in Ireland, and as I was saying, moved to London in 2013. They offered me a contract and I'd done a startup. The company was called Flexible Driver Hire. Basically what we'd specialised in was providing specialist drivers. So that was the business, that was my first kind of startup. Started in my bedroom, started off with 3 drivers, and we kind of grew it because a lot of the companies were national companies and I was the main supplier in the UK. Grew it up to 20 drivers with a turnover of 500,000. And I kind of seen that was the hard work. I spent years of that, and I said it on the podcast.
So you started it on in which year?
2013.
13, so it took 6-7 years to get to the 500,000.
So the first year probably turned over 100,000. The following year then it was 300,000, and then it was 450, 500,000 the year after that.
Okay.
But like I was working 7 days a week, doing everything. I never had any money, you know. And the problem with them kind of businesses that I see is the more revenue you do and the more customers you get, the more money you're owed. So the main thing that was increasing all the time was the debtors. And at the same time, because I was paying more and more drivers, every Friday I had to find more and more money, you know. So it was quite... Then I started factoring with that business, and that kind of brought me into the finance space, that I knew some of the contacts and built relationships with them to then help doing acquisitions. But I kind of seen that, and it was around that time I kind of got the thought of doing acquisitions, that was an easier, quicker option. You know?
Tell us about the first acquisition. Give us some idea of the numbers, how you financed it. Just give us the big picture.
So part of my whole thinking with, because I'd already had a recruitment business, a lot of the customers all had trucks and machines and all that kind of stuff. So my grand plan kind of was to do bolt-on departments. So I was trying to buy a haulage business. And so I'd looked at loads of them, hadn't seen anything kind of suitable, or convinced the seller to sell something to me, and built a relationship with one particular broker, and he said, of this business doing HGV, truck and trailer repair, would you have an interest in it? And so I got in my car last November, drove up to Telford, met the people, looked around, and it says, right, if I do it, it'll be like this, and it kind of worked. So, I structured a deal that I could use invoice finance and cash in the bank to make that completion payment.
So give us an idea of the size of the business.
So it's turning over $1 million.
Okay, and what's the profit margin on a business like that?
100,000.
So 10%?
Yeah.
Okay, and how did you agree a price with the owner?
Well, it was, as I said, it was through a broker, and the thing that I'd learned, because I had told you this previously, I had an advisor at the start who was paying, but now he was used to big deals, and I think he was ex-Barclays mergers and acquisitions or something like that. So I'd learned quite a bit off him. So you know yourself, if you get 20 accounts through and you look at everything, if you get the net asset value, triple the, in my space anyway, triple the operating profit, and that's in around it,
So typically the value is 3 times?
Yeah, roughly,
okay.
Plus the net assets,
Okay, which are the trucks?
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Cash in the bank, debtors is a lot of it actually as well.
So there wasn't a big negotiation then?
No, now the thing that kind of sweetened the deal for me was they were trying to sell out to an Irish company 12 months previous, and it was all going to be based on their on their year-end accounts. Mm-hmm. And the year accounts were coming up, and of course the year-end accounts came out and they were rubbish.
Right.
And the deal fell apart and they were devastated.
Okay.
So,
So you were coming along and picking up the pieces?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, okay. So what was the structure of the deal? How did you structure that first acquisition?
So it was a completion payment, and then the rest 12 months after completion. That's the way I've always done it.
So the balance 12 months later?
Yeah.
Got it, okay. And that's a formula that you followed since?
Yeah, like it depends on how good the business is, how much I want it.
Sure.
Like yourself with your nursery, a lot of your success is building on what you have. So, as I'd have because I'm in the truck space, I'd have brokers trying to get me to take on a construction business or recycling business.
Right.
But if I do that now, it's not going to add to what I have. So,
sure.
So I need to be looking at garages, and I need to be looking at haulage companies, and that. Then
it sounds like you've got
locations.
a very clear vision of what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Well, you have to, or you waste an awful lot of time,
So number 2, tell us about business number 2.
So business number 2, haulage business beside Heathrow. It's grown. It was set up 42 years ago, roughly, and the owner was 73. Things had changed over time, but they hadn't changed the business at all. So there was a lot of goodwill in there, a lot of capacity, and it was a quite easy turnaround for me. There was all the resources in place, team, and the customer contacts and goodwill to do that. So with that one, because I'd said this to Jonathan earlier, because the business wasn't as stable and profitable as the first one, it was a lot harder to get the finance on it.
Yeah. Okay. And the finance again was against the debtor book?
Invoice finance, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No asset finance?
No.
Okay.
Now part of it is, I don't know if you know this, but the other thing that's kind of happened in the last 12 months is most used trucks, so going from say 3-year-old to 10-year-old, the value's halved in the space of the last 12 months. So if you're trying to get finance on a truck, now it's good for me that's buying them now and growing a business, because the truck that was 25 or 30,000 pounds is now 50,000.
But it's still the same truck.
Oh, but you get the same rate per pallet or per load, So,
right. Okay. That's interesting.
So before people were leasing and doing contract hire, and the rates are still the same. But if you can buy it for the same amount, it doesn't make sense. So.
And then the third acquisition was smaller.
Yeah.
But worth doing apparently.
Yeah.
So tell us
So
about
it was
that.
an engineering business off the same broker as the first one. It was 3 miles down the road from it. Initially, I had said I'd move the two businesses into the same premises, but both of them got very busy quickly, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, it was kind of said, do I want it or not? And I thought, yeah, I'll go for it. So I put in an offer. I says, I'm not raising finance. It'd be cash in the bank at completion, agreed a deal, and it happened. So
Okay, so turnover of this business?
400,000.
You agreed to buy it for how much?
What was it? Roughly just over 200,000, something like that.
Okay, and that was funded in what way?
So an amount of cash in the bank and then payments, 12. With that one, because there was no finance being raised and they wanted X amount, I spread it over 3 years.
Okay, but again, with all three of these, none of your personal money in?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing that I seen was, as long as you can do that and you know how to work things, you can keep doing them and do them.
Well,
Whereas
exactly.
of course,
Yeah.
you know, if you're not getting finance and you give this guy $500,000, that guy $500,000,
You run out of money. You run out of money very quickly. Yeah,
And that's fine if you have loads of money that you want to put into something, but
if you don't, you have to be more creative.
exactly, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay, so we're at. So you started up at 500. You added $1 million, 1.5, and then 400. So you got 3.4 million of revenue. So that's a very different beast to what you had last year.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So how has it changed for you, the way you run everything?
I think the big eye opener for me was when I completed the first business in February, and I'd always kind of been the best in the business, you know. So as in I'd have, because I couldn't afford people that were immensely talented when you're in that small business space.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I think the first day completed, I went up in February up to the business in Shropshire, and I said, yeah, tomorrow we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and if you can help me out with this. And luckily the husband and wife team have stayed on, and like they're both as capable as I am, and with that, yeah, I said to the wife, because she does more account stuff, we'll do this and this tomorrow. And so the next morning I rang her and I says, yeah, how are you getting on with that? Oh, that's done. And I was like, it's done, you know. Whereas before I would have had to sit down and do all the paperwork.
So the benefit of being the owner of a larger group is that you've now got a bigger team to do things, which frees you up to do what?
Strategy and operational type stuff.
What are the first things you do when you take over? So on all three businesses, what did you do immediately after you completed? And I don't mean open the champagne. I mean, what do you do in the business?
Yeah, I don't drink, so I would have a cup of tea, you know.
Okay.
Go and meet the staff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the no-brainer thing, and you know, get introduced and get to know the business, and the strengths and the weaknesses, because if you kind of have an understanding, and you know, because the first one, like I hadn't ran garages before, you know, so to have a team of mobile engineers going out fixing trucks and trailers inside the road and people doing MOT prep, I understood it because I did have trucks, but I hadn't ran it, so
Sure.
There's a quite different mindset, you know. But what I did kind of know from my recruitment background was having national customers that, you know, if you can get more and more locations, you just ring them up, you get more and more business, and it's just easier to grow then, you know.
That's been great then. You've covered everything. That's what that means.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
A round of applause for Ray Burke. Thank you, Ray.